So can't Okay. Sorry. Ah, so should we start? Should we not? Hmm. Well, ah, let's leave it. I think so. We should start and yeah. So yeah. Anyways, let's start with with the day. For the people who have joined, wishing you all happy Dhanteras, and let's continue with our Diwali study sessions. So, without wasting our time, as people have not joined, let's see if people will join after between the session. So let's see. So, opinion, we have an article from the Undark. It's a science-based political article. So I've already read this article, and I'm just going to revisit through it again and make some crux out of it so we can start off with the day. As it's easier for me to reread an article, and as it also takes a lot of time to read an article with them. So yeah, let's just start with this. Hell. Okay, so yeah, let's leave it. So this article is by Olivia Lutz, and it's based upon the termination of F31 Diversity Fellowship and Grants Program for graduate programs and HDFC Bank by the PhD students. So yeah, so it starts with and it starts like as a PhD candidate in the computational and neuroscience at the University of Chicago, I've always find it easy to engage with people across political spectrum in my research. I've studied vestibular systems, organ and inner ears, detect gravity and head motion, maintain balance, stabilize gaze, and provide a spatial or sense of spatial orientation. This system is crucial for not only in everyday life but in extreme environments such as space flight where minimal gravity changes how our body senses orientation, and when the system is damaged, people suffer from vertigo, difficulty in keeping eyes steady during the migraines. So, this part of an article is for the author's research. So, basically, like what does uh, excuse me, listen. So, this is the crux, like what is the specialization done by the author, and it continues to the part. So, let's continue. My research used biology realistic simulations of human building blocks to create a large model shows you. Yeah, so this is a further example for this. So it's a further supporting idea, nothing more than that. And here's the main part. On 23rd May, however, I received a notice from NIH that my fellowship award that was awarded through a diversity funding mechanism has been abruptly terminated. This is the letterhead which they are talking about, and just a second. Let's continue. So this is the article. So there's a drastic change in the tone. So we have suddenly changed the tone to negative. And then the purpose of the passage, I think we are shifting towards the main idea of the passage. Just a second. Just a second, guys. This annotation note has been closed, so I have to re-log in. Don't worry, I'm just finishing this up in a few seconds, and then we will continue. Huh. Yep, we are back online. Okay, we are back online, and here we have it again. So, so something of a fellowship that has been stopped by the government of NHAI has been stopped by them, and this is the letterhead, and this is stop and negative change towards the tone. And the purpose of this part of an RC, let's see this. The purpose of NIH Bureaucratic Individual National Research Service Awards known as F1 grants, F31 grants, is providing fund over cover graduate students' expense stipend. In this, until a year earlier, this fellowship had been two funding mechanisms: standard and diversity tracking, while both provide support for research. The diversity aim to increase the number of applicants and represented backgrounds. The eligibility criteria is not only racial, ethnic, and specifically from the rural area, it also is foster care. So, like the so this is the whole funding mechanism, and it's talking about the H1 F31 grant. H1. It's talking about what is F31 grant. Two types, and one standard. Second is diverse. So this is the two types of grant which is follows is given by the government NIH, the Pre-Doctoral Individual National Research Service Award. So yeah, during my first year of graduate school, I sustained a serious injury that significantly limited my ability to conduct lab experiments to accommodate the physical limitation. I altered my research to be purely computation and was later advised to submit the F31 application to diversity track. So we know that author author went on with F31 diversity track. Decision by the NIH for a diversity in the research has affected three types of award grants awarded to scientists from underrepresented. Yeah. So the decision to end the support is affecting the three types of awards, which is the first is underrepresented, whose research is not specifically related to diversity. Projects explicitly focus on diversity in healthcare and children and diverse is completely different process. So this line is given by the author as he and she is from this background, the medical background. So yeah, my award fell in the first group since my research is not related to diverse focus topic. Unfortunately, I could not appeal the termination decision, and IIH confirmed with the university legal team that cancellation covered entire F31 diversity program, not individual awards. So termination decision, and yeah. Okay. I'm back. Just a small inconvenience. So yeah, let's carry on with this. If I resubmitted my grant, I would only delete two sentences pertaining to diversity and from the letter from the university speaking 945. So next part of this article. So this was the first part of the article which we have talked about. The first part talked about the author's field of study and his cancellation of a grant reason. So and what is F31? Later, why was it cancelled? Which author comes in which part of the F31 application, and then yeah, application for application for F31 fellowship, regardless of funding tracks, were evaluated by the same discipline appropriate study section. A panel comprised of the academic scientists who are expert in that field. Decision to award NIH grants are based on criteria such as scientific merit, the research training plan, and strength of applicants, diverse and institution. Between 10 to 20, the number of F31 grants awarded each year remained stagnant, while the number of standard award grew. All the applications contained word diversity, it did not increase the likelihood of being funded to them. So this is the structure of the F3. This is the structure of the F31. We're talking about the structure of it. NIH NIH grants are equal. So like first of all, moving forward. So like there is also one thing mentioned that the number of F31 standard grants have grew up, but the number of the diverse has remained stagnated as diversity does not and there is a thing that diversity does not increase your likelihood to get the funding. NIH grants are akin to business proposals requiring significant detail in 58-page application. I had to include extensive research plan, a detailed description of my background, career plan, academic work, blah blah and blah. So the author is equating NIH grants as a business proposal, like so something which can be used as a monetary means in the near future. And after that, after extensive evaluation by the dozens of scientists in INIH, hearing and balanced study sections, my fellowship plans received a nearly perfect score, but the factor was not taken into consideration when the grant was discontinued. So the author, when after the extensive evaluation, she received a nearly perfect score. Like so, we have a score of if we had a score of 100, she's getting a score of above 90. So like we can just say 90 plus in this case. But this factor was not taken into consideration when the grant was discontinued. So even though she had a good and she had a good research, which had a good prospects of business, still it was not considered for the grant and it was discontinued. If I resubmitted my grant via the standard F3 months of funding, I would only delete two sentences pertaining to diversity and a letter from university stating I qualify as a diverse candidate. So she is saying that if I del she has only she will only delete two sentences for the standard F3 month funding, which includes the diversity she mentioned in this application in our application. The science itself wouldn't change at all. From business perspective, it seems fiscally responsible to stop supporting a approved project midstream and risk comprising the result of research. Interpretation could be avoiding be phasing out the diversity grants and rather than summary of cutting. So like if you are cutting, so she's like saying that fiscally irresponsible seems like from a business perspective, she's like saying that if from a business mind, from a business guy, this seems a wrong move. This seems a wrong move because it can cause a serious harm in the result of the research. So it can negatively, so we have a negative portrayal of it. So we have a negative tone of author. As I shared my story, people encouraged me to reapply for the standard grants to track and follow. Just a second. So as I shared my NIS story, so like she mentioned, she was suggested to reapply for the grant, maybe their amount of application is required 2 years of funding. Well, beyond my anticipated graduation date in summer 26, I researched for private foundation fellowship but found that I'm ineligible as the specific research focus on fewer awards compared to NIH and are typically reserved for students in early PhD university with large endowment and rainy day funds to support their research but finding solutions. Endowment funds are legally restricted to donor designated purpose such as scholarship, named sufficierships and designated academic programs. So, uh, just a second. Thank you. So, um, we have private foundation, foundation fellowship to reapply, and yeah. So, the author was suggested to reapply for the scholarship as she is in the mid-office fellowship, like she is mid-office graduation, which was in 26. And as she have searched for some private foundations, but she's ineligible and it requires a specific term to follow it. The University of Chicago, uh, the University of Chicago Provost Office has officially stated that funding will remain in place for all current graduate students until the program they completed. Thus, I will be able to stick to my graduation timeline. However, every science division is implementing new policies including reduced enrollment, placing PhD students on grant are more quickly and shortening the time to grad to degree. to help university meet the goal of reducing unrestricted funding dedicated to PhD students by 30%. Additionally, many of the art, humanity, and graduate programs have been paused for admission for 1 year. Current students in different institutions may find themselves in a worse situation. They may be forced to graduate earlier to take on additional teaching responsibilities to cover the cost or leave with the master's degree. So, University of Chicago, where she studies, is where they haven't cut down the grant, but they have cut down the time to complete the degree. And there are some instances where other STEM students are suffering as they are not getting enough chances, or they have to leave before their masters, or they because the training can so yeah. University of Chicago, like, so there in this university where the authors are studying and graduating from the PhD of the vestibular studies. So they haven't cut down the grant, but they have cut down the time to complete the degree. Because of that, it is reducing and increasing the burden, reducing the training time and increasing the burden of additional teaching responsibilities on the people who are studying there. And there's a chance that if you want to, you have to either take some additional expenses, you have to take some additional cost to cover your expenses, or you have to leave with the master's degree. Okay, Manan. So I'm deeply concerned that these fundings will cut. So, sorry. I'm deeply concerned that these fundings will cut the reading. The world was not many points of installment, but the academy and accelerate the bottom minority goals in the fundamental trade. So this is where like they are giving so funding cuts are something which is pure like which is she is pretending to something which is more towards effect on the biotechnology in the pharmaceutical industries as she is working in that area, so she is working in the biology of the vestibular diseases. So yeah, academic research is a foundation for scientific breakthrough the fueled biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies, reducing their discovery pipeline threats a decline in biochemical workforce, slower innovations, higher healthcare costs. During my internship and that last year, many discussions revolved around that academic discovery when my new design therapies. And my own internship project relied on collaboration with academic groups. My degree, computation and neuroscience, is foundational with emerging areas like artificial intelligence to develop a algorithm inspired by how the brain learns to recognize patterns and reasons. Academic research focus on discovery and as a timeline that operates independently, private sector pressure to deliver rapid returns to investor. So she is giving importance of that. Importance of time. The COVID-19 pandemic fractured the public trust in scientific research, which in turn negatively affected the reputation of many scientists. I hope scientists and public can re-establish a dialogue across the political spectrum to ensure that the scientific research meets the social and societal needs while maintaining a rigor. The current political division risks disseminating the system that made the US the global leader in scientific innovation. These funding cuts do not jeopardize the individual projects. They weaken the pipeline of discovery that fuels education, medicine, technology, national security. They may also drive the scientists of other countries out of their field altogether. If this erosion continues, I feel fear the US may never recover. So, we are completed with the article, and the whole crux which I was able to get was that this article was based upon the effects of cutting down the grant And first of all, it was talking about the author and the author's. You know, first of all, it's talking about the author and what type of branch this she comes in. Her termination of grant. Her termination of grant. Reason why her grant got terminated. The structure of the F-31 application, F-31 fellowship, and NAIH grants, which usually gives the grants, F-31 grants, sees as a business proposal. Her perfect score, and still she was not eligible for that. Her try to get some other fellowships to, in order to just just to cover her expenses throughout the graduation. Tried to get some private foundations, but then she was not able to found any. And after that, the University of Chicago's example, and then we have the biopharmaceutical examples, and then after at the end, there is ending with this a subtle and a negative tone that if you were to cut down the cost, it would not it would not jeopardize, it would not harm the individual project, but the they would weaken the pipeline of discovery that field education. Like this would overall harm the overall pipeline, which is the overall flow of the education discovery, and then and this may lead to a future that US may never recover from. This was the article. It was from Yandak. This is a science-based article, and it was fun while it was there. So yeah, let's just uh, get this over with. So we all know that I used to go on to an article to an AI website, which is just nowadays I'm a bit more fixated towards perplexity, as we all have perplexity in our hands. So I paste this article, make a simple prompt, make uh, four option for inference based questions. So this will load up a quiz, and then we can just go on with this. Yeah. So there are four. Why did the author's NIH fellowship get terminated according to the letter provided by the NIH? So we should go back to this and see where it is mentioned that why her NIH decided to end the support of a grant. So let's see where it is mentioned after the expensive fellowship. So this is here. It is mentioned here. Sorry. Whose research is not specifically related to diversity. Projects especially focused on diversity, health, and related. My award for on the first group since my research is not related to diverse focused topic. Unfortunately, I recommend. So it is mentioned that her topic was not related to that area. That was insufficient financial performance is straight up bogus. So D gets eliminated because a projected critical violation is out of context. It's get eliminated if the policy shift away from diverse Indian policy shift away from funding diverse based program. So we have two options because the research failed to meet the scientific merit standards, or due to the shift in policy shift away from the funding diversity based programs. So yeah, we have two, and I don't think so I can infer this. So I'm stuck on two options right now. But I think B is something which I can't, uh, you know, infer upon and drive upon because it is something which is not mentioned explicitly, as it is mentioned that her grant does not come under that diversity focused topic. So, because of research filtering weakness in the scientific merit standards, so it was B. But then, okay, why is it B then? Um, yeah. Hmm. Doesn't feel like this should be announced. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, let's move on to the next part and then we will see this question back again. What can be inferred about the author's attitude towards the NIH discussion. Believes policy change will justify is directly contradicting the part she is nowhere supporting the ground. So yeah, she is indifferent since the university is continuing funding. No, she is not indifferent. She is definitely something. She has definitely shown some emotion towards no. She welcomes the chance to reply and no. She feels the cancellation was something which we should not have made mention. So it's followed by the article. So B is the correct option. Which broader consequence does the author foresee from NIH funding cuts? Long-term weakening of the scientific innovation system, like we can just simply infer this from the last part. If this continues, the erosion, I fear the US may never recover. So long-term weakening of the US scientific and innovations ecosystem. So B is good efficiency, improved efficiency due to fewer funded program. Nope. Greater trust between, definitely not. It's B. Last question based upon the article, what does the author list of the historical link between the federal funding and the scientific progress? So the federal funding and the scientific progress is something which is I think is here. I'm deeply concerned that the funding will funding cuts will beyond the university. Now to 1940, the academic research in the US had little federal thinking. World War II marked a major turning point when the US government partnered with the academia to accelerate the wartime R&D projects, including refining radar for military equipment, scaling up penicillin production, and developing atomic weapons. After the war, federal funding agency expanded rapidly, driving scientific discovery, advancing technology, dash, dash, dash. This helped the US to gain a global leadership position in the uh, global south, no, not the global south, but global east. Why the thought of study funding? Yes. So, from this, federal research funding has a little impact is extremely undermining the fact the academy and partnership has driven major innovations. So yeah, this is something which is good. Funding is only recent is also is something which is also contradictory. Private funding, nope, out of context. Yup, all three B's. Damn. Um, for the first question, I'm really uh, So right solution. Okay, okay. Yeah. Um, so the first part is done. Let's just end this. Uh, just yeah. So a lot of more people. So what should we do next? Should we pick up an article? We have done the article. Should we pick up a cat PYQ? So I've thought of doing cat PYQ uh, slot one. Maybe not slot two. Let's pick up slot three. I've done slot one and slot two. So can we just pick up slot three if we are people? Yeah. See, if even if people are not in the stream, I really don't care. Uh, See, if there are people, if people come, it's good. If people not come, it's not. It's still fine. I'll continue my 3 hour study session whether you like it or not. So yeah. Okay. Sorry, my bad. We have cracku. Okay. Uh, we are in this slot one, slot two, slot three, slot one, slot two, slot three. Domestic aesthetics. Okay. Nutmeggers. Oh, famous one. So let's start with VARC section first of the CAT 23 slot 1, slot 3, my bad. So yeah, for that, just a second. I have to see one thing. Just something private, and I'll come back. Okay, yeah, well, yeah, I'm back. I've just had to do some important work to update my master class out sheet. I had some problems in that sheet, so sorry. So I have to, just have to make some changes in that. So yeah, let's focus on this. The famous RC by the cat 23, the curse of the nutmeg. So if anyone's reading this, I'll show you the RC first so you can read this, and this is the first part of the RC. This is the next part of the RC. This is the first question. This is the second question. This is the third question, fourth question, and this is up. All this is all up. So yeah, if anyone wants to try, can try this. Um, so for anyone who wants to do this article, I've given you sufficient time. You can start with this article, and I'll also start with this article. Let's give around uh, just a second. Hey Siri, start a 7 minute 30 seconds timer. So the time is over, and yeah, just second, and I'll be just coming back to the RC. Um, so yeah, this was the famous article by the Nutmeggers. The CAT 23 slot 3 most famous article and one of the interesting ones to read as well. So the article was uh, by Ghosh, and he perpetuated that the colonialism was the main driver of climate change in the world. So he gives the first example of the Dutch massacre of the Banda Island, which was famous for nutmeg cultivation, which and the massacre which led to extinction of individual people and plants. And after that, the more frequent of the national frequency of natural disasters increase, signifying something which is angry Gaia. Gaia is another word for Earth or Mother Earth. So let's keep it Earth for simple. And the curse by using the word curse in the title of makes clear that it thinks so. Like the angry Gaia is more like of a curse by the Earth, and it shows the European thinking of Earth as an inert object. As as Ghosh Tech's biography, so he is just telling that the European mindset of just treating people to the fullest extent and exploiting it. And the other point, so like there is another example of the so here's our examples of indigenous people and non-European people of treating Earth in a good way. And then we have uh, non-renewable energy uses and exploitation by them. At the end, the power, so sabotaging the power, they usually because of the utilizing powers and the US controls oil and oil prices, so like the to maintain the monopoly of the oil prices, they're deliberately destabilizing the solar power generation today. So this was the article. The first question was on the basis of information which of the following is not reason for failure of policy seeking to address the climate change. So which is not a reason of failure. Greed, greed for of organization of benefiting from non-renewable energy sources. So like yeah, as we can see, to extend of oil economy, not only oil exporting but also for superpowers, and because of the monopoly on the oil, they uh, deliberately destabilize the renewable energy sources. So yeah, first is kind of is a reason of failure. So first goes out. Second, global dominance of oil economy and the international policies built around it. So it's similar to it, but then I'm keeping it as an option. The oil uses like, but then I can say that the US oil, because of that, the power utilities they are in. So it's a similar to oil one. So I think I'll just keep it aside for a moment, and then yeah, the marginalized status of non-European way of looking at nature and environment. So this is not a failure of. So this is a proper way, which is not a failure of the climate to address the climate change. So they had a way. So the non-European were the Latin Americans, for example, looking at the Earth as a Panchmama. Oh, sorry, Pachama, Pachamama. So like mother Earth. So they No such farming provide lip service and ignore substantial personal negotiation. So like they have a way of treating earth with a respect. So this is not a failure of address to climate change. So C could be a good option. Decentralized characteristics of the, so like yeah, this mentioned that the solar energy is destabilized. So and yeah, so C is my option. And D is the correct option. Oh, that was anticlimactic. Yeah. Let's move on to this back. We will look where we went wrong. So yeah, let's move on to the next part, which is the following true would make the reviewer's choice of pronoun who for Gaia inappropriate. So Gaia is mentioned here. Are these responses of an angry Gaia who has finally had enough? So Gaia, he's treating Gaia as an object, so like Gaia is Earth. So who is something which is generally related to living objects, so like we have to look on forward to it. Modern Western science is discovering new evidence for Earth being an inanimate object. So if Earth is an inanimate object, so his use of who, which is used for cursing us with natural disaster, so might weaken the author's choice of who. So A is good option. The direct cause effect of human activities in global climate change doesn't matter. I'm not able to infer this from the passage, and this is nothing which I can say about. Ghost has a different title. This is something which is out of context when I can't uh, conclude upon. Non-European societies are perceived as Earth as non-living sources for all resources. Western sciences, non-European ways have thinking of Earth as a non is all for resources is something which is so. I'm thinking that this is the right option, or I'm fixed on this option. But then, yeah, let's move on to the next part and let's see. Well, should we go on with the option which I've selected? I should selected, yeah. Thought it was D. It is D. Mm-hmm. So the following instructional passage not occurs except. So I've concluded D and the D is correct. And for the last one, I've concluded D and the D is correct. So all D in this. So yeah, this RC is done. With that, I can just let me see. So yeah. Oh, should have seen better. Hmm. I'm not seeing anyone. Yeah. Let's do one thing. Mm, let's do one thing, guys. Let's we don't have many peoples, and just let me see. Do I have anything? Okay, I have no class today. Let's just continue. Okay. So we have done the nutmeg curse. Should we pick one more RC up? Yeah, we should do one more RC. What RC should we pick now? We have one of the art museum. Sorry. Then we have the Steven Pinker's rationality. Then we have this one, aesthetics one. So we have three options. Can we create a poll? Yeah, I don't have much viewers. Aesthetic ones. Hmm, CM one. Just museum one. Or what was the last one? The Steven Pinker one. So we have a poll. We have three options. The first is the museum one. Second is the Steven Pinker one. And the last is the romantic aesthetics one. So what should we pick? What should we pick? Hmm, I think so we have one option. So if we don't have any other, well, we have one vote. Let's see. We only have one vote, so yeah. Yep, we are doing the reason one. Okay. Yeah, let's just stop in this poll. So yeah, this is the poll. This is the RC for the people who wants to do it. You can just move on to this. Pause the screen. Pause the screen. First one is, let's see, the first part of the RC which came around to will not. Then this is the next part. So yeah, this is the next. And these are the question number one, question number two, question number three, question number four. 7.5 minutes. After that, we will do this RC. We will check the answers. So we'll meet after 7.5 minutes. Hey Siri, start a timer for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Sorry. Whew. So we are done. Just a second. We are done with an article. Let's just let it done. So the article was from the museum, the cultural patronomos to protect the country of origin from stealing by the Westerns and the Americans. Typical British behavior. So yeah, but because of those laws, the archaeological rich but poor countries were not able to discover as much archaeological sites as they were. Because of that, it it suggested to loosen up the laws, help them generate a more income and tourism. So yeah, this and we have an example of China. And after that, yeah, that is it. So I've marked, I've already marked my answers, and let's check what's the answer to it. All of those. So the first one, ah, I marked D. So it was D. Marked D. It was D. Marked C. It was C. And marked A. It was A. So this RC is done. My reasons for selecting those answers are for the first question. It's a clear inference-based question. The paradox is something which creates an ambiguity in the situation. So, like paradox is that you go positive, that result comes negative. So it's as simple as that. It's a situation when you are in a convergence and you are at a problem that it is either this or either this, a 50-50 situation. So yeah, condition of this. So clear so the inference was that they were aimed to protecting the cultural property, but instead reduced to new archaeological discoveries. So yeah, it was intended to protect their property, but it reduced the archaeological discoveries. Second is also a perfect inference-based question. So it is given that the given so other things are not inferable. The only thing which is inferable is that they given tourism sector a boost. And the next thing is the statement if true would undermine the central idea, something which is that. So option C, and why is it? So the author is saying central idea is that there are cultural patronymic and if you want to, you know, but because of cultural patronymic the archaeological discovery in archaeological rich but poor countries has significantly dropped because they had no fundings to, find more of those sites. To help them, it suggested that to lessen up the cultural patronymic, allow international collaboration, and able to find some resources. So UNESCO is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So if you have visited some places, UNESCO is a uh, independent organization for all over the world. So it's not based upon on the one country. So if UNESCO is funding them, why would they need to, why would they need another country's collaboration and their funding? So if this is true, this will impact that they don't need the country doesn't need to open their up of their cultural patrimony laws and they can still let it be rigid. No need for collaboration. Just let them do this and yeah. And the last is option A. So I think it's as simple as as it can be because if if poor countries have money to fund other countries, why wouldn't they fund their own country? So it's a simple implication of this passage. So yeah, this passage is also done. This was a fun and interesting RC of this. So yeah, shall we move on? So what should we do next? Mm, the message was retracted. Oh, I had a message. Oh, ah, I didn't. This message was retracted because of that I was not able to see it. Hmm. Yeah, was there something? We don't have viewers. Well, let's see. Yeah, just a second. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. Okay. So, what should we do next? We have two options: odd one out, para jumbles, para summary, and para completion. What do you think we should do? Oh, yeah, we don't have an overview, so yeah, let's just focus. So, let's just do para summary and para completions. Okay, then we will just end up with this. So, we have this. So, you can try this as well, like sidewise, side by, and I can also try this. So, yeah, let's do this. So yeah, I think so. This should be it. Oh, oh, well, that was it for this day. Huh. I'll see you tomorrow's live session. I'll try to maybe adjust the time. Let's see. So yeah, let's just end this and yeah. Thanks for watching the stream. I'll see you in the next one.